Over 200 experts have shared their secrets to a successful business. Join me, Rose Davidson, as I discover how these experts took their businesses to the next level.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking about all things business by business owners for business owners. Welcome to episode 245 with Alper Cakir.
Interestingly, I'm talking about maybe 10 years where I thought that I was doing all sorts of different things, but there is something very, very, very personal, which is my brand in that case, right? So it doesn't matter if I play a little bit more jazzy, if I play a little bit more rock. I have my limitations and I have my tastes that bleeds into everything you do, and that's actually the brand. So it's harder to establish that for a company because company is a larger group of people, and it's driven by different values and different limitations. But still, if you make your brand a little bit more personal, may that be even if it's a company, that seems to resonate better in today's world because everybody needs a face. Everybody needs to understand okay, why should I trust these guys? And when they see that there is real people behind brands, when they see that those people are actually going sometimes through similar issues.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. I'm Rose Davidson, your host for today from rosesdavidson.com. My guest today is Alper Cakir, and he is from the US, and he is a musician turned designer turned entrepreneur. He was born and raised in Turkey and moved to the US about 20 years ago. He's had dozens of jobs, titles, and now, looking back, he can see how each unrelated move contributed to who he is and what he does now. And our topic today is building a brand and building a sustainable business. Welcome, Alper, and thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you, Rose. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it didn't have a very good beginning, but we'll get through it. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you come from where you were as a musician to being an entrepreneur and doing what you're doing now?
Mm-hmm. I grew up in Istanbul, Turkey, and I worked as a musician before I moved to Los Angeles, the US. The thing that triggered was mostly curiosity plus the environment in Turkey. We at 1999, there was a big earthquake in Turkey, which shook not only the ground but also the economics and all the workings of the country for a long while. And one of the first things that gets affected when there's an earthquake is the entertainment business. So music business got hurt a lot. So I was looking for ways to open myself out to other opportunities over other locations. And then I ended up coming here to US in 2003. And at the time, trying to stay a musician, I had other things that I was able to do. I was able to, do a little bit of design. I was able to work also as a sound engineer. I already had a lot of jobs. So that was not I'm used to wearing different hats while being a musician. So I first took a job at a mall. I started selling stuff on eBay. I started taking more design work, which led to doing more web design, which led to becoming a UX UI designer. And then one thing led to another basically. And, while doing music, I realized that I also enjoy all these other creative outlets. And in 2009, with my wife, my girlfriend at the time, we started the agency for UX and UI work for startups. This was very interesting times because we were helping people with ideas to bring those ideas to life. So like we were not only seeing what businesses think, and we were also seeing like why some people are able to take an idea and bring it to life where others could not. Like these are all like smart people, they had resources, and some ideas basically did not have any market for them. Some of them did not have the right timing. Some of them did not have the resources needed, etc. So like seeing all that stuff also taught a lot as well. Like I mean, we kept doing that, and on the side we started Xtensio, our current company, as a side project inside the agency, and that took a life on its own. And with all the learnings, not only from the agency years but also throughout my life, I was able to turn it into a sustainable business so far. And here we are, like 20 years later. Like I mean, like it's an adventure that I did not anticipate taking shape like this, but like I'm enjoying the journey for sure.
Being a musician, you'd have an entrepreneurial heart anyway. I think, especially if you were a single musician and not in a band. But even then, I think you need some entrepreneurship to be able to go and market yourself. So yeah, so I think you've been in that sort of business forever and just didn't realise it. Okay, so tell me what Xtensio actually does.
Xtensio is an online collaboration platform for business documents, presentations, and any collateral. So we're basically a communications and strategy platform for startups, marketers, salespeople, and any business really who needs to create good collateral without designers. Okay.
So I guess the next thing is question. I mean, because you're building brand and you're building a sustainable business, are you teaching people how to do that, or is it something that comes with the territory of you designing for them?
Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, when working with clients, we were going through a lot of the same exercises, figuring out what is the core of that business that we're trying to help, right? So like, and a lot of times we were realizing that the business needs to stand on 3 feet, and one of them is the problem. There needs to be a really valid problem that this business will solve, and it can be anything. Like it can be like, oh, people are hungry, we're providing burgers for them. To like we're inventing a company like Airbnb or Uber. There's a problem, and then there should be people who has that problem. There should be hungry people if you're going to sell burgers. But that's not enough. People need to be aware as well, right? So like they need to understand. So the third leg is the storytelling between these two different areas. So you need to be able to understand why they should come to your business, why you're the right solution for them to pick. Why are you going to be the beneficial thing in their life versus other options out there. So on this, going through all these exercises, the Xtensio being a content collaboration platform, we launched it with a couple of basic templates, and these templates were geared mostly towards startups, because startups had this need, like they need to create good content to raise funds, to go to market, to understand their business, etc. So the first couple of templates that we launched with were a user persona template, which still to this day is probably the world's most famous and most used user persona template that still drives a lot of traffic for us. So that helps people with ideas to really understand who they should be talking to, why a certain group would potentially adopt your solution more than somebody else, right? So like, and that's your ideal customer profile, that's your user persona. Another one was a lean canvas. Like it was, okay, what are the different aspects of your business? How are you going to frame your business? Why do you stand in the crowd? Like how are you going to go to market? Who's your ideal customer? What is the message you're going to put in front of them? What are the things you should be careful about? What does the competition look like? So it's really a very precise framework, a canvas to help you figure out all these little aspects. And a lot of the times these don't need to be sent to somebody. It's not about like publishing these. It's about just asking the right questions for yourself, and then be able to collaborate around these canvases with your team so that you're all on the same page, so you can set up a united target altogether. Because one of the areas that we were also seeing that a lot of the companies were struggling with was not having a united voice altogether.
Yeah, that happens quite a lot in businesses. When you have teams, you've got different voices with different ideas, and when they don't all come together, then that causes chaos within the business, especially if the owner has one sort of idea and the employees or other team members have a different idea, and they don't sort of come together and talk about it. Now, branding, I know branding and brand are two different things, but what makes a good brand? What are the essences of a good brand?
I'm going to go back to the agency years again. This was we started the agency in 2009, and we were one of the earlier UX design agencies, and we realized that brand is not your logo, your colors, your fonts. Those are definitely must-haves, but the brand is everything altogether. And the brand is how people experience you, and the brand is how people perceive you as an entity. And it's a very fluid thing as well. So it's not really like, yes, you can define it, but it also changes over time. It really changes according to who is also consuming your brand as well, or benefiting from it as well. But I try to see the brand focusing mostly on the user experience. And what that means is, like if it's a fabric, it's from how it feels to how it looks to how it's been manufactured to how long it lasts, everything combined. Like that experience is not an instant or it's not a fraction of time. It's not a moment. It's actually a longer phase. It's the lifetime of anybody's experience. Like, to give you an idea, let's take some brands. Mercedes is Mercedes because you start seeing it as a child, and like maybe like some people buy their first Mercedes when they retire. So like so it's really a long game to establish a brand, and for that, and I think in today's world, because we're just observing so much information in so little time, consistency is actually what makes a brand tick nowadays more as well. Like if I see something, just sticking this to its values, which maybe how it's experienced altogether as well for a really long time, that's where I see branding or the brand become more successful as well.
Yeah, branding is more to do with the marketing and how you actually market yourself or your business. And as you know, brand is the person. It's the person that runs the business or the company that runs the business. It's not necessarily a name. It's the customer experience. I think if you give good customer experience, then you will be remembered for, making that person feel wonderful, or their experience to be an outstanding experience for them. So yeah, and you're right too. A lot of people think that their brand is, their fonts and their colors and their logo and things. And, I've rebranded myself so many times, but I'm still the same person, but I've, changed my logo and I've changed my business model and changed lots of things, but that's become confusing now to my audience, because what the hell does Rose actually do? She's doing this thing and now she's doing something else. So that can be a problem for businesses when they do that too often, I think.
Well, as a musician, actually, that's an interesting point. As a musician, like when I was studying guitar, I remember, I always felt like, I'm trying to exceed my own expectations. So like, I'm always saying, I'm going to play a little bit faster. Nowadays, I want to be more of a blues player. And nowadays, I'm into more jazz. And 2 years later, these rock guitar and these sounds are really interesting. And I'm always trying to be a little bit different and surprise myself to some extent. And, these were the times where I was doing a lot of recordings for various artists or bands or in the studio. And now, when I look back, I actually am able to see something common among all those as well. Interestingly, like I mean, I'm talking about like maybe 10 years where I thought that, you know, like I was doing all sorts of different things, but there is something very, very personal, which is my brand in that case, right? So like, it doesn't matter if I play a little bit more jazzy, if I play a little bit more rock, like I have my limitations and I have my tastes that bleeds into everything you do. And that's actually the brand. So like, it's harder to establish that for a company because, you know, company is a larger group of people and it's driven by different values and different limitations. But still, you know, like if you make your brand a little bit more personal, may that be, you know, even if it's a company, that seems to resonate better in today's world because everybody needs a face. Like everybody needs to understand, like, okay, why should I trust these guys? And when they see that there's real people behind brands, when they see that those people are actually going sometimes through similar issues, one, they have more tolerance for your brand. Two, they're more likely to actually echo what you are giving them to other people. And there's nothing more valuable and more powerful than that referral power.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in, you know, authenticity in all things and, you know, transparency and all those sorts of things. Yes, of course, I tell the occasional white lie, but, you know, really, who doesn't tell a white lie now and again? But to my clients or customers, I'm always, you know, true to who I am and my values. And I know that a lot of business owners don't necessarily take on that role. You know, they have one face for business and one face for personal, and, you know, the two don't come together. And, you know, people say that personal is business anyway, because if people don't get to know you, they're not going to be able to trust you. And, you know, people buy from people, they don't buy from a name, you know. I mean, if you go to an Apple store, you will find a customer service person there that you like and that you resonate with and that you get on with, and you'll probably go to that person time and time and time again because they encompass what you believe in. It might not be that it's because it's necessarily an Apple product. I think to me it's more of the personal experience that I've gotten from that particular service representative.
And also, I think like even the people to that customer support representative in the store, they're actually a continuum of an idea from the very top. So like everybody, you know, like anybody who works for Apple would associate with that, you know, like, oh, we want to do better. We want to exceed the expectations. We want to be innovative, you know, like we want to be the cutting edge. So that mentality, it doesn't matter what role you have in that company, is coming from the DNA of that company. So like as the leaders of a company, our responsibility is to be that example, you know, like we are, for example, like, and we are always trying to, you know, there's the culture. The company culture is a major part of your brand. You know, if you build the right culture, that bleeds into everything that's being done in the company, and then that transfers to people's understanding of you as a company as well. In our case, we are driven by curiosity. We're driven by but also like we're driven by honesty. We're driven by fairness. We're driven by all the values. Maybe like not. We want to be on the right side. You know, we want to be also like we on the curious side. We want to be on the ambitious side for knowledge, and we want to be on the evolving sides of things. And that, I think, in my case, and we're a small company, I think that transfers into everything we do, all the decision making we have, and all the people that work with us. May that even be a contractor or a short term person who's working with us, like that. Like they know that like we're going to try to do things because they match those values.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I won't go to a business if I can't resonate with what the company value is and with someone that's serving me, because I think, well, there's no point, because it's not a pleasant experience for me, and a lot of times it's not a pleasant experience for the person who's serving you, because you know, you could be rude, or you just, there's something that just doesn't gel. So I guess we've, you know, covered the importance of brand But how can we build that into our businesses to make them more sustainable?
I think we touched upon a couple of things. One, I think you need to understand as a business why you're doing the things that you do. So like if you're able to define, for example, for me, like I want to be able to reach a lot of people versus making a lot of money. I'd like to make money, don't get me wrong. But, like I also want to have a mark, right? So like I have this agenda that also drives everything that I'm doing. I want to make sure that I'm also, supporting people who are not able to maybe access similar tools in other places. I mean, for that, for example, we try to support a lot of nonprofits. We try to support schools, etc., through our platform. So why, like defining why you do things helps define your brand better as well. Two, again, like your character. Like, I mean, if you're a lot of times like yourself, small companies are basically the owner, basically the founder is the brand. So like being open about it definitely is easier than trying to be, a pie in the sky and try to be something that you're not. And like it breaks at some point, right? So like, I mean, if you're true to yourself and if you're a little bit more vulnerable in the way that you put it out there, that I think builds a little bit more stronger brand as well. And I think a lot of times we build good brands or powerful brands by not binding ourselves with the wrong people and wrong ideas. A lot of times, for example, I see a lot of startups, for example, raise money from investment firms, and in some cases or most cases, it's all about money, right? So like you're saying, you give me $1 million, I'm going to make it $2 million next year. Now you made a promise. Your business made a promise. Like, so it doesn't matter what your values are. If you want to stay alive as a business, you're going to fulfill those promises. So you basically started compromising. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, like all investment firms are like that, but I'm saying a lot of times it's very transactional. It's kind of like taking a bank loan. So like you take the money and you're promising something in return, and that's going to dictate all your decisions moving forward. So like trying to see again the long-term effects of all your alliances has a major effect on building a stronger brand as well. In Xtensio, I mentioned a couple of the templates, from brand positioning canvas, lean canvas, SWOT analysis, TOES matrix. There are so many proven canvases that you can, and a lot of times, like don't maybe even spend a week working on them. Just look at them and try to honestly answer to yourself all the boxes and say, okay, like who is my real competition here? Like, or who, like, why am I the right person to do this? Why is this company going to last 10, 15, 20, 50 years? Like, and is it worth it? Is the market big enough for this? Like, I mean, like, do people need me, or is it already crowded? How am I going to differentiate myself? So like trying to answer all these questions and being able to have alliances that fortifies that understanding definitely helps in the long run build a better sustaining brand.
Yeah, I've found a lot of times that a business owner is their own worst enemy, or the worst competition that they can have, because they're chopping and changing, and they're not they don't stay true to themselves. And as I said previously, they have a face for business and a face for personal. And people, sometimes your best friends could become your clients, but if you don't have the same face on all the time, they're not going to know who you are. Not really deep down.
Absolutely. Well, like I know a lot of people with good poker faces. I know a lot of people who are able to, differentiate it. It's really about your personality as well. It's, some people are able to do that and have a good night's sleep. One of the things that I really don't, one of the sayings that I really don't like is, don't hate the player, hate the game. So like that, they say that a lot in States. I don't believe in that. I mean, the players make the game. So like it's up to us to define what kind of a game we're going to play. And in this case, like I've never been a good I have never been good at dividing, life and business. I really see them very interconnected, interlinked. So for me, like I mean, I can't do it. I'm not working at a bank. I'm not just getting out and like forgetting about all the customers and clients at 5:30. Life goes on. Like I'm like, look, this is like 9 p.m. in Los Angeles, and we're on this call. These are not things you do at a regular job. So like I can't say, like I was just watching a TV show like before this call. So like I cannot put on masks and take off masks all the time. I have to be myself. That's the only way I'm able to achieve moving forwards.
Totally agree with you. I can't do it either. I think it's absolutely pointless exercise, and it's exhausting.
It is.
You can never remember which mask you're supposed to have on for this person, or situation. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Alper, have you written any books, or do you have a podcast that you'd like to talk to us about?
I mean, my sister's got a new podcast. I'm listening to it a lot nowadays. But I mean, that's in Turkish. That's not going to be very helpful for your listeners. But like I'm listening to all the, I follow Sastre a lot. So those guys acting are generally good. One of the people that I find a lot of inspiration from is Seth Godin. So anything that he puts out is really worth checking out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As for books, it really changes. But, like nowadays, and maybe you can see them over there as well. Like I'm looking into flat organizations, and I'm trying to figure out like how to empower people within my organization more and give them more flexibility and ownership in everything that they're doing.
Flat organizations, they're my favorite. I love them so much. I think they're so, they work so much better, I think, than the hierarchical one.
When they work, but if they don't, it's a disaster. So
well, it can be.
You got to figure out.
Alper, have you got any tips, hints, whatever that you'd like to share with our audience today?
You know what? I think I think it's less about tips. It's more about strategy. Mm-hmm. So it's really about I would say play the long game. Like that seems to be, and I think we've touched upon that a lot. Like be true to yourself and just follow who you are and be open to where life takes you instead of like trying to really dictate it. Because one of the things that I learned in my journey so far is, like I was growing up in Istanbul, and like all of a sudden I was introduced to rock music. I was introduced to the bands like Pink Floyd and Dire Straits. And I thought that I would be the guitar player and I wanted to be like those guys, like growing up. But a lot of the things that is available now did not exist. We didn't have computers, no cell phones, like no entrepreneurship. I didn't, even your dreams are bound to everything you're exposed to. And there's a good chance you're going to be exposed to different things in the future. So like instead of really trying to dictate life, it makes sense to be open and I'm going back to something I said earlier. Beyond everything you've done on a daily basis, there's something at your core that really doesn't change or changes very, very slowly. And over time, if you play the long game, if you strategize for the long term instead of like daily wins, there is a pattern that emerges through life. Maybe in a couple of decades, but it does. So like I would say follow that more than and any simple tips, like of course read books, sleep better, value your time with family and friends, all the usual, but everybody's different.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation. It was quite enlightening, actually.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it too.
I will talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much for joining me today.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Talking with the experts.